about how important it is to cater to the user when you design an application. And I actually managed to finish the application. I'll give you a quick rundown of how it works, and then I'll talk about some of the hacks that I used. So, because I am such a lazy programmer. Oh my god, it won't compile. No. What did I do? Oh, there we go. I inserted by accident something in the code that shouldn't have been there. It's so easy when you have like horrible code. It's so easy to make mistakes. So, last week I talked about how when I press the randomize button, I want to get nice colors because that's what the user expects. And I talked about how much longer the code is because of that reason. So, this is the finished application. I have a few color palettes. The user goes in, chooses a color palette. They adjust some of the sliders. They press shift the colors, and the Windows theme colors change, which is pretty awesome, pretty neat. You have all the stuff. Start with Windows, an about button, and so on. But this is not what I'm going to talk about today, because this application is easy, quick to code, and also very, very horrible. Where should we talk? Where should I start? Let's start with hacks.h. I have this nice, beautiful file, which, what does it do? If we go to hacks.cpp, I have an unsigned log that's called global hacks, and a mask that's global hacks disabled. And I made a few functions such that I can set or reset arbitrary bits inside this global hacks log, such that when I'm actually using it, I have different hacks, different hack flags that I can enable or disable using set hack flag and clear hack flag. Why is this important? Let's go back to the application for a second. Whenever I select a palette, you notice that theme color changes because I have preview enabled. When I have preview disabled, it doesn't. When I add a palette, it copies the stuff over. It selects the first thing here. So whenever I press a button, something happens. And in this case, I add new palette. When I add a new palette, something else happens. The colors start getting added to the color table. After the colors are added to the color table selection is changed. The color table selection changing causes a side effect that changes the colors. That side effect that changes the colors also moves the sliders around. But as it happens, all this tree of side effects that cascade out of this simple action has a few loops in it. So I had a couple of problems with my code. When I clicked on something, it would change the color. And that color would change the sliders, which would change the color, which would change the sliders. So I got into this infinite loop a couple of times just because I didn't know what to do with the stuff. So I thought, okay, I can rewrite my code to be nice and easy, to have changes happen only in one function, how a reasonable person would do it. Or I can have a few flags here and there that if I enable or disable those, I can just go to this file, go to a random spot, and you see hack flags all over the place, which enable and disable side effects dynamically, which is pretty ingenious. I'm pretty proud of of how I did all of this. But here's the problem. Let's search for hack everywhere. Look at this, look at this. Look at how many instances of hack I have in my program. It's horrible. And that's not all. Okay, that's an easy one. Where do I have that thing? Another thing is that it's super hard to navigate because everything is in the same file, which don't do this, please. Let's talk about some other hacks. Okay, so I have this. I have some groups. Let me bring up the application again. This is settings group. This is palette group, and this is color group. When I started the application, I want these groups to be grayed out because if I change stuff in it, then side effects happen and it might break something. So I just want the user to do it. When I stop it, I want the groups to be re-enabled. But if a group was disabled in the first place, I don't want it to become enabled again because then it was disabled for a reason. So what I have to do is somehow save the state of the group and then restore it. So notice that I have a few hack flags here that do this exact thing. Color group, settings group, and palette group, my three main groups. But notice that color, settings, and palette are lowercase. Is this a programmer mistake, or is it something worse going on? Because the same behavior applies for all three of them, normally you would make a function so that you don't have to write the same code 3 times. We have a function, it's called save group state and disable of color, palette, and settings. What is color, what is palette, and what is settings? And what is this function for this reason? These are not variables, and this is not a function. I am abusing the C preprocessor right here. Wow. I save, whenever the C preprocessor encounters this particular thing, it replaces it with a 5-line if-else code, and it takes color, palette, and settings, and it simply pastes them into here. Whenever it encounters group, it replaces color group, and color group. So now you know why this is lowercase, because the name of the thing in the application is lowercase. So the UI color group is enabled, and it replaces that UI palette group and so on. So this saved me some time. It was sort of fun. I only had to write this once. It's extremely readable. You know instantly what it does. It saves the group state and disables. So yeah, and I also have restore group state here. These defines right here. It's super nice. It's super awesome. The C preprocessor is really cool. It acts as a find and replace for your source code, so you wouldn't have to write your functions and just have like nice behavior. Some other stuff. Using Windows is also like not a really good idea. Let's see why. Okay, so I have is it in main.cpp? It's another one of these problems. It's in the help window, which loads not this one, help window.h. I have to, where is it? Help window. It's in the about window, isn't it? It's not in the about window. What am I doing? No, what's going on? Oh, I know what I did. Okay, so that thing is fortunately not in my application anymore. Essentially, I had help window.h, and I would include a couple of things, such as I would include Qt, WebKit, and some of the stuff, right? And when I would include that, it would actually let's see, Qt, WebKit, which is it that thing? Never mind. What's the QF element? So when I would compile it, it would actually error out. Why is that? What's this? So it did work. Okay, what is this file? My program has an error. Where is that error? That error is not in my code. That error is in the libraries. But the libraries don't have any bugs. The reason this happens is that, well, it's because I use Windows. Let's go back here. And I actually Googled this. And you have to undefine min and undefine max for it to compile. And see?
Oh,
This is because the application is still running and it can't write to the exe. But it compiled when I had to find min and I had to find max. Please, please, please don't do what I did. Please don't use Windows. Please I use Windows. Please don't use Windows. Please don't have a global bit array. Please don't do hack flags. Please don't do any of this. And I'll show you why if people are not going to frown at me for too long. You know what else had cascading side effects? AT&T. In 1990, the entire AT&T phone system went down because a switch went offline and then it sent a message to the other switches. And when it went back online, it sent a message, and that message caused the other switches to crash. And those switches crashed, and when they turned on, they sent a message that caused the other switches to crash. So you can imagine having cascading side effects is a bad thing, which is exactly what my code has. A helicopter crashed because of bad code. This is not trivial. People die because of medical software that is poorly developed. Bad design and its consequences. Toyota used some global bit stuff, the same thing that I did, but in that case, and also used a global variable to decide that stored the acceleration of the car, and that thing got clobbered and it got stuck in the accelerate position and it just maxed out and crashed into stuff. So, you know, bad design, and especially it happened with bit flips. You see this thing right here in my hacks.h. This thing is a single integer that stores all the important bits. One of these bits get flipped and everything crashes down. But then again, I'm not writing medical software. If someone ever relies on the Windows theme colors to keep someone alive, we should stop and ask ourselves, what the hell are we doing? Thank you.